Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Red Hat Senior Vice President of Engineering, Matt Hicks.
Welcome back. I hope you're enjoying your first day of Summit. You know, for us, it is a lot of work throughout the year to get ready to get here, but I love the energy walking into Summit on that first opening day. Now this morning, we kick off with Paul's keynote. And you saw this morning just how evolved every aspect of Open Hybrid Cloud has become based on an open source innovation model. That open source, the power and potential of open source, is what really brought me to Red Hat. But at the end of the day, the real value comes when we're able to make customers like yourself successful with open source. And as much passion and pride as we put into the open source community, that requires more than just Red Hat. Given the complexity of your various businesses, the solutions that you're building, that requires an entire technology ecosystem. From system integrators that can provide the skills or domain expertise, to software vendors that are going to provide the capabilities for your solutions, even to the public cloud providers, whether it's on the hosting side or consuming their services, you need an entire technological ecosystem to be able to support you and your goals. And that is exactly what we are going to talk about this afternoon. The technology ecosystem we work with that's ready to help you on your journey. Now, you know, this year's summit we talked about earlier, it is about ideas worth exploring, and we want to make sure you have all of the expertise you need to make those ideas a reality. So with that, let's talk about our first partner we have of the day. And that first partner is IBM. When I talk about IBM, I have a little bit of nostalgia, and that's because 16 years ago, I was at IBM. It was during my tenure at IBM where I deployed my first copy of Red Hat Enterprise Linux for a customer. It's actually where I did my first professional Linux development as well. You know, and that work on Linux, it really was the spark that I had that showed me the potential that open source could have for enterprise customers. Now, IBM has always been a steadfast supporter of Linux and a great Red Hat partner. In fact, this year, we are celebrating 20 years of partnership with IBM. But even after 20 years, 2 decades, I think we're working on some of the most innovative work that we ever have before. So please give a warm welcome to Arvind Krishna from IBM to talk with us about what we are working on. Arvind?
Hey, Matt, pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So, 2 decades, huh? That's, you know, I think anything in this industry, going for 2 decades is special. And what would you say that link is that has made Red Hat and IBM so successful?
Look, I got to begin by first saying something that I've been waiting to say for years. It's a long, strange trip it's been. And for the San Francisco folks, they'll get the connection. You know what, I was just thinking, you said 16. It is strange, because I probably met Red Hat 20 years ago, and so that's a little bit longer than you, but that was out in Raleigh. It was a much smaller company. Yep. And when I think about the connection, I think, look, IBM's had a long investment and been a long fan of open source. Mm-hmm. And when I think of Linux, Linux really lights up our hardware. Yep. When I think of the Power Box that you were showing this morning, as well as the mainframe, as well as all other hardware, Linux really brings that to life, and I think that's been at the root of our relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I alluded to a little bit earlier, we're working on some new stuff, and this time it's a little bit higher in the software stack than we have before. So what would you say spearheaded that?
Right. So when you think of software, many people know, but some people don't realize, a lot of the world's, I'll call it critical systems, you know, like reservation systems, ATM systems, retail banking, a lot of the systems run on IBM software. And when I say IBM software, names such as WebSphere and MQ and DB2 all sort of come to mind as being some of that software stack. Mm-hmm. And really, when I combine that with some of what you were talking about this morning along hybrid, and I think this thing called containers, you guys know a little about, combining the two we think is going to make magic.
Yeah, no, I certainly know containers. I mean, I think for myself, seeing the rise of containers from just the introduction of the technology to customers consuming it in mission critical capacities, it's been probably one of the fastest technology cycles I've ever seen before.
Look, we completely agree with that. When you think back to what Paul talked about this morning on hybrid, and we think about it, we have made a firm commitment to containers. All of our software will run on containers, and all of our software runs on RHEL. And you put those two together, and this belief on hybrid and containers giving you that hybrid motion so that you can pick where you want to run all the software is really, I think, what has brought us together now even more than before.
Yeah, and the best part, I think I've liked, we haven't just done the product and downstream alignment. We've been so tied in our technology approach, we've been aligned all the way to the upstream communities.
Absolutely. Look, participating upstream, participating in these projects, really bringing all the innovation to bear. When I hear all of you talk about you can't just be in a single company, you got to tap into the world of innovation and everybody should contribute. We firmly believe that.
Yep.
And sort of helping to do that is kind of why we're here.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the best part, we're not just going to tell you about what we're doing together, we're actually going to show you. So, Arvind, why don't you tell the audience a little bit more about what we're doing? I will go get the demo team ready in the back. Sound good? Okay,
thanks,
great.
Matt. So look, we're doing a lot here together. We're taking our software and we are beginning to put it on top of Red Hat and OpenShift. And really, that's what I'm here to talk about for a few minutes, and then we're going to show it to you live, and the demo god should be with us, so it'll hopefully go well. So when we look at extending our partnership, it's really based on three fundamental principles. And those principles are the following. One, it's a hybrid world. Every enterprise wants the ability to span across public, private, and their on-premise world, and we got to go there. Number two, containers are strategic to both of us. Enterprise need the agility. You need a way to easily port things from place to place to place, and containers is more than just wrapping something up. Containers give you all of the security, the automation, the deployability, and we really firmly believe that. And innovation is the path forward. I mean, you got to bring all the innovation to bear, whether it's around security, whether it's around all of the things we heard this morning around going across multiple infrastructures, whether public or private. And those are three firm beliefs that both of us have together. So then, explicitly, what are we doing here? Number one, all the IBM middleware is going to be certified on top of OpenShift and RHEL and through Cloud Private from IBM. So that's number one. All the middleware is going to run in RHEL containers on OpenShift, on RHEL, with all the Cloud Private automation and deployability in there. Number two, we are going to make it so that this is the complete stack. When you think about from hardware to hypervisor to OS to the container platform to all of the middleware is going to be certified up and down all the way so that you can get comfort that this is certified against all the cybersecurity attacks that come your way. Three, because we do the certification, that means the complete stack can be deployed wherever OpenShift runs. So that way you give the complete flexibility and you no longer have to worry about that. The development lifecycle is extended all the way from inception to production, and the management plane then gives you all of the delivery and operation support needed to lower that cost. And lastly, professional services through the IBM garages as well as the Red Hat Innovation Labs. And I think that this combination really speaks to the power of both companies coming together and both of us working together to give all of you that flexibility and deployment capabilities across. One can't help it. One architecture chart, and that's the only architecture chart, I promise you. So if you look at it right from the bottom, this speaks to what I'm talking about. You begin at the bottom and you have a choice of infrastructure. The IBM Cloud, as well as other infrastructure as a service, virtual machines, as well as IBM Power and IBM Mainframe as the infrastructure choices underneath. So you choose what is best suited for the workload. RHEL, with the container service, with the OpenShift platform, managing all of that environment, as well as giving the orchestration that Kubernetes gives you, up to the platform services from IBM Cloud Private. So it contains the catalog of all the middleware, both IBM's as well as open source. It contains all the deployment capability to go deploy that, and it contains all the operational management, so things like come back up if things go down, worry about auto-scaling, all those features that you want come to you from there, and that is why that combination is so powerful. But rather than just hear me talk about it, I'm also going to now bring up a couple of people to talk about it. And what all are they going to show you? They're going to show you how you can deploy an application on this environment. So you can think of that as either a cloud-native application, but you can also think about it as how do you modernize an application using microservices. But you don't want to just keep your application always within its walls. You also many times want to access different cloud services from this, and how do you do that? And I'm not going to tell you which ones, they're going to come and tell you. And how do you tackle the complexity of both hybrid data that crosses both from the private world to the public world, and as well as target the extra workloads that you want. So that's kind of the sense of what you're going to see through the demonstrations. But with that, I'm going to invite Chris and Michael to come up. I'm not going to tell you which one's from IBM, which one's from Red Hat. Hopefully you'll be able to make the right guess. So with that, Chris and Michael.
Thank you, Arvind. Yeah. So thank you, Arvind. Hopefully people can guess which one's from Red Hat based on the shoes. It's some really exciting stuff that we just heard there. What I believe that I'm most excited about when I look out upon the audience and the opportunity for customers is, with this announcement, there are quite literally millions of applications now that can be modernized and made available on any cloud, anywhere, with the combination of IBM Cloud Private and OpenShift. And I'm most thrilled to have Mr. Michael Elder, a distinguished engineer from IBM, here with us today. And Michael, would you maybe describe for the folks what we're actually going to go over today?
Absolutely. So when you think about how do I carry forward existing applications, how do I build new applications as well, you're creating microservices that always need a mixture of data and messaging and caching. So this example application shows Java-based microservices running on Webster Liberty, each of which are then leveraging things like IBM MQ for messaging, IBM DB2 for data, Operational Decision Manager, all of which is fully containerized and running on top of the Red Hat OpenShift container platform. And in fact, we're even going to enhance DocTrader to help it understand how you feel.
Wait. Okay, hang on a second. So I'm a little slow to the draw sometimes. You said we're going to have an application tell me how I feel.
Exactly, exactly. You think about your enterprise apps. You want to improve customer service? Understanding how your clients feel can help you do that.
Okay, well, I'd like to see that in action.
All right, let's do it. Okay. So the first thing we'll do is we'll actually take a look at the catalog. And here in the IBM Cloud Private Catalog, this is all of the content that's available to deploy now into this hybrid solution. So we see workloads for IBM. We'll see workloads for other open source packages, et cetera. Each of these are packaged up as Helm charts that are deploying a set of images that will be certified for Red Hat Linux. And in this case, we're going to go through and start with a simple example with a Node app. We'll click a few actions here. We'll give it a name. Now, do you have your console up over there?
I certainly do.
All right, perfect. So we'll deploy this into the New World namespace, and we'll deploy Node 8.
Okay.
All right, do you see anything happening?
Of course, it's come right up. And so, what I really like about this is, regardless of if I'm used to using IBM Cloud Private or if I'm used to working with OpenShift,
Yep.
the experience is, well, with the tool of whatever I'm used to dealing with on a daily basis. But I mean, I got to tell you, we deploy Node ourselves all the time. Show me something that's a little more classic
MQ?
IBM.
When was the last time you deployed MQ on OpenShift? Maybe never.
Maybe never.
All right,
Absolutely.
Let's fix that. So MQ obviously is a critical component for messaging for lots of highly transactional systems. Here we'll deploy this as a container on the platform. Now, I'm going to deploy this one again into New World. I'm going to disable persistence. And for my application, I'm going to need a queue manager. So I'm going to have it automatically set up my queue manager as well. Now, this will deploy a couple of things. What do you see?
I see IBM MQ showing
All right,
up.
so there's your stateful set running MQ. And of course, there's a couple of other components that get stood up as needed here, including things like credentials and secrets and the service, et cetera. But all of this is there out of the box.
Okay, so impressive, right? But that's the what. But
Thank you.
What I'm really looking at is maybe how well is this running? What else does this partnership bring when I look at IBM Cloud Private with OpenShift?
Well, so that's a key reason about why it's not just about IBM middleware running on OpenShift, but also IBM Cloud Private. because ultimately you need that common management plane. When you deploy a container, the next thing you have to worry about is how do I get its logs, how do I manage its health, how do I manage license consumption, how do I have a common security plane.
Right.
So Cloud Private is that enveloping wrapper around IBM middleware to provide those capabilities in a common way. And so here we'll switch over to our dashboard. This is our Grafana and Prometheus stack that's deployed also now on Cloud Private running on OpenShift. And we're looking at a different namespace. We're looking at the stock trader namespace. We'll go back to this app here momentarily, and we can see all the different pieces. What if you switch over to the stock trader workspace on OpenShift?
Yeah, I think we might be able to do that here. Hey, there it is.
All right. And so what you're going to see here are all the different pieces of this app, right? There's DB2. Over here I see the portfolio Java microservice running on Webster Liberty. I see my Redis cache. I see MQ. All of these are the components we saw in the architecture picture a minute ago.
Yeah, no, so this is really great. I mean, so maybe let's take a look at the actual application. I see we have a fine stock trader app here. Now, we mentioned understanding how I feel.
Exactly.
Right? You know, well, I feel good that this is, you know, a brand new stock trader app versus the one from 10 years ago that I feel like we used forever.
So the key thing is this app is actually all of those microservices in addition to things like business rules, et cetera, to help understand the loyalty program. So one of the things we could do here is actually enhance it with an AI service from Watson. This is Tone Analyzer. It helps me understand how that user actually feels. And we'll be able to go through and submit some feedback to understand that user. Okay, well, let's see if we can take a look at that. So I tried to click on you. Clearly, you're not very happy right now. Is it here? I'll do one quick thing over here.
Go for it.
We'll clear a cache for our sample app.
So what you guys don't actually know is Michael and I just wrote this Node.js front end backstage while Arvin was actually talking with Matt. And we deployed it real time using continuous integration and continuous delivery that we have available with OpenShift.
Well, the great thing is it's a live demo, right? So we're going to do it all live all the time.
All right. So you mentioned it'll tell me how I'm feeling, right? So if we look at...
So right there, it looks like you're pretty angry, probably because our cache hadn't been cleared before we started the demo, maybe.
Well, that would make me angry, but I should be happy because, I mean, I have close
That's
to...
a lot of money.
Well, it's more than I get today, for sure. But, you know, again, I don't want to remain angry, so... Does Watson actually understand Southern? I know it speaks like 80 different languages, but...
Well, you know, I'm from South Carolina. It understands South Carolina Southern, but I don't know about your North Carolina Southern.
All right, well, let's give it a go here. Y'all done a real... No, uh-oh.
No profanity now. This is live.
Y'all done a real nice job on this here fancy demo.
All right.
Hey,
all right.
It likes me now. All right, cool.
And the key thing is, just a quick note, right? It's showing you've got a free trade. So we can integrate those business rules to then decide, do I do one trade? If you're angry, give you more. It's all bringing it together into one platform, all running on OpenShift.
Yeah, and I can see the possibilities, right, of we've not only deployed services, but getting that feedback from our customers to understand, well, how well the services are being used and are people really happy with what they have.
Exactly.
Hey, listen, Michael, this was amazing. I really appreciate
you
you joining us today. I hope you guys enjoyed this demo as well. So all of you know who this next company is. As I look out through the crowd, based on what I can actually see with the sun shining down on me right now, I can see their influence everywhere. You know, sports is in our everyday lives. And these guys are equally innovative in that space as they are with hybrid cloud computing. And they use that to help maintain and spread their message throughout the world. Of course, I'm talking about Nike. I think you'll enjoy this next video about Nike and their brand, and then we're going to hear directly from Mike Wittig about what they're doing with Red Hat technology.
New developments in the top story of the day. The world has stopped turning on its axis. Top scientists are currently racing to come up with a solution.
Let's go! Let's go!
The idea is that the power of the foot will propel the planet back into its proper motion.
Let's go. Whoa, 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 whoa. What's up? Why's everybody going this way? You sure about this?
Let's go.
This just in. Everyone is running the wrong way. Repeat, you're running the wrong way.
Let's go. I knew it. I knew it. I knew I was right. You got to do the whole thing again.
Please welcome Nike Vice President of Infrastructure Engineering, Mike Wittig.
Hi, everybody. Over the last 5 years at Nike, we have transformed our technology landscape to allow us to connect more directly to our consumers through our retail stores, through Nike.com, and our mobile apps. The first step in doing that was redesigning our global network to allow us to have direct connectivity into both Azure and AWS in Europe, in Asia, and in the Americas. Having that proximity to those cloud providers allows us to make decisions about application workload placement based on our strategy instead of having design around latency concerns. Now, some of those workloads are very elastic. Things like our sneakers app, for example, that needs to burst out during certain hours of the week or certain moments of the year when we have our high-heat product launches. And for those type of workloads, we write that code ourselves, and we use native cloud services. But being a hybrid has allowed us to not have to write everything that would go into that app, but rather just the parts that are in that application consumer-facing experience. And there are other back-end systems, certain core functionalities, like order management, warehouse management, finance, ERP, and those are workloads that are third-party applications that we host on RHEL. Over the last 18 months, we have started to deploy certain elements of those core applications into both Azure and AWS, hosted on RHEL. And at first, we were pretty cautious, and we started with development environments. And what we realized after those first successful deployments is that the impact of those cloud migrations on our operating model was very small. And that's because the tools that we use for monitoring, for security, for performance tuning, didn't change, even though we moved those core applications into Azure and AWS because of RHEL under the covers. And getting to the point where we have that flexibility is a real enabler. As an infrastructure team, that allows us to just be in the yes business. And it really doesn't matter where we want to deploy different workload. If either cloud provider or on-prem, anywhere on the planet, it allows us to move much more quickly and stay much more directed to our consumers. And so having RHEL at the core of our strategy is a huge enabler for that flexibility and allowing us to operate in this hybrid model. Thanks very much. Thanks, Matt.
What a great example. It's really nice to hear Nike's story of using sort of RHEL as that foundation to enable their hybrid cloud, enable their infrastructure. And there's a lot. That's a story we spent over 10 years making that possible for RHEL to be that foundation. And we've learned a lot in that. But let's circle back for a minute to the software vendors. We kicked off the day today with IBM. IBM has one of the largest software portfolios on the planet. But we learned through our journey on RHEL that you need thousands of vendors to be able to support you across all of your different industries, solve any challenge that you might have. And you need those vendors aligned with your technology direction. This is doubly important when the technology direction is changing, like with containers. We saw that 2 years ago. Red Hat introduced our container certification program. Now, this program was focused on allowing you to identify vendors that had those shared technology goals. But identification by itself wasn't enough in this fast-paced world. So last year, we introduced trusted content. We introduced our Container Health Index, publicly grading Red Hat's images that form the foundation for those vendor images. And that was great because those of you that are familiar with containers know that you're taking software from vendors, You're combining that with software from companies like Red Hat, and you're putting those into a single container. And for you to run those in a mission-critical capacity, you have to know that we can both stand by and support those deployments. But even trusted content wasn't enough. So this year, I'm excited that we are extending once again to introduce trusted operations. Now, last week, we announced at KubeCon, Kubernetes conference, the Kubernetes Operator SDK. The goal of the Kubernetes operators is to allow any software provider on Kubernetes to encode how that software should run. This is a critical part of a container ecosystem, not just being able to find the vendors that you want to work with, not just knowing that you can trust what's inside the container, but knowing that you can efficiently run that software. Now, the exciting part is because this is so closely aligned with the upstream technology that today we already have 4 partners that have functioning operators. Specifically, Couchbase, Dynatrace, Crunchy, and Black Duck. So right out of the gate, you have security, monitoring, and data store options available to you. These partners are really leading the charge in terms of what it means to run their software on OpenShift. But behind these 4, we have many more. In fact, this morning we announced over 60 partners that are committed to building operators. They're taking their domain expertise in the software that they wrote, that they know, and extending that into how you are going to run that on containers in environments like OpenShift. This really brings the power of being able to find the vendors, being able to trust what's inside, and know that you can run their software as efficiently as anyone else on the planet. But instead of just telling you about this, we actually want to show you this in action. So why don't we bring back up the demo team to give you a little tour of what's possible with it. Guys?
Thanks, Matt. So Matt talked about the concept of operators. And when I think about operators and what they do, it's taking OpenShift-based services and making them even smarter, giving you insight into how they do things. For example, had we had an operator for the Node.js service that I was running earlier, it would have detected the problem and fixed itself. But when we look at it, what really operators do, when I look at it from an ecosystem perspective, is for ISVs, it's going to be a catalyst that's going to allow them to make their services as manageable and as flexible and as maintainable as any public cloud service, no matter where OpenShift is running. And to help demonstrate this, I've got my buddy Rob here. Rob, are we ready on the demo front?
We're ready.
Awesome. Now, I notice this screen looks really familiar to me, but I think we want to give folks here a dev preview of a couple of things. What we want to show you is the first substantial integration of the CoreOS Tectonic technology with OpenShift. And then the other thing is we are going to dive in a little bit more into operators and their usefulness. So Rob?
Yeah, so what we're looking at here is the service catalog that you know and love in OpenShift. And we've got a few new things in here. We've actually integrated operators into the service catalog. And I'm going to take this filter and give you a look at some of them that we have today. So you can see we've got a list of operators exposed. And this is the same way that your developers are already used to integrating with products. They're right in your catalog.
And so now these are actually smarter services. But how can we maybe look at that? I mentioned that there's maybe a new view. I'm used to seeing this as a developer, but I hear we've got some really cool stuff if I'm the administrator of the console.
Yeah, so we've got a whole new side of the console for cluster administrators to get a look into the infrastructure versus this dev-focused view that we're looking at today. So let's go take a look at it. So the first thing you see here is we've got a really rich set of monitoring and health status. So we can see that we've got some alerts firing, our control plane is up, and we can even do capacity planning, anything that you need to do to maintenance your cluster.
OK, so it's not only for the services in the cluster and doing things that I maybe normally as a human operator would have to do, but this console view also gives me insight into the infrastructure itself, right? Like maybe the nodes and maybe handling the security context. Is that true?
Yes, so these are new capabilities that we're bringing to OpenShift, is the ability to do node management, things like drain and unscheduled nodes to do day-to-day maintenance, and then as well as having security constraints and things like role bindings, for example. And the exciting thing about this is a view that you've never been able to see before. It's cross-cutting across namespaces. So here we've got a number of admin bindings, and we can see that they're connected to a number of namespaces. And these would represent our engineering teams, all the groups that are using the cluster. And we've never had this view before. This is a perfect way to audit your security.
You know, it actually is. It's pretty exciting. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be on the OpenShift team since day one, and I know that operations view is something that we've, strived for, and so it's really exciting to see that we can offer that now. But, really we want to get into what operators do and what they can do for us. And so maybe you show us what the operator console looks like?
Yeah, so let's jump on over and see all of the operators that we have installed in the cluster. You can see that these mirror what we saw in the service catalog earlier. Now, what we care about, though, is this Couchbase operator, and we're going to jump into the demo namespace. As I said, you can share a number of different teams on a cluster, so let's jump into this namespace.
Okay, cool. So now, what we want to show you guys when we think about operators, we're going to have a scenario here where there's going to be multiple replicas of a Couchbase service running in the cluster, and then we're going to have a stateful set. And what's interesting is those two things are not enough if I'm really trying to run this as a true service where it's highly available and persistent. There's things that, as a DBA that I'm normally going to have to do if there's some sort of node failure. And so what we want to demonstrate to you is where operators combined with the power that was already within OpenShift are now coming together to keep this particular database service highly available and something that we can continue using. So Rob, what have you got there?
Yeah, so as you can see, we've got our Couchbase demo cluster running here, and we can see that it's up and running. We've got 3 members. We've got an auth secret. This is what's controlling access to a UI that we're going to look at in a second. But what really shows the power of the operator is looking at this view of the resources that it's managing. Mm-hmm. You can see that we've got a service that's doing load balancing into the cluster. And then, like you said, we've got our pods that are actually running the software itself. OK, so that's cool. So maybe for everyone's benefit, so we can show that this is happening live, could we bring up the Couchbase console, please? And keep up the OpenShift console. There we go. We got it here, both sides. So there we go. So what we see on the right-hand side is obviously the same console Rob was working in. On the left-hand side, as you can see by the actual names of the pods that are there, the Couchbase services that are available. And so, Rob, maybe let's kill something. That's always fun to do on stage. Yeah, this is the power of the operator. It's going to recover it. So let's browse on over here and kill node number 2. So we're going to forcefully kill this and kick off the recovery.
And I see right away that because of the integration that we have with operators, the Couchbase console immediately picked up that something has changed in the environment. Now, why is that important? Normally, a human being would have to get that alert, right? Yep. And so with operators, now we've taken that capability and we've realized that there has been a new event within the environment. This is not something that Kubernetes or OpenShift by itself would be able to understand. Now, I'm presuming we're going to end up doing something else. It's not just seeing that it failed, and sure enough, there we go. Remember, when you have a stateful application, rebalancing that data and making it available is just as important as ensuring that the disk is attached. So, I mean, Rob, thank you so much for driving this for us today and being here. I mean, not only Couchbase, but as was mentioned by Matt, we also have Crunchy, Dynatrace, and Black Duck. I would encourage you all to go visit their booths out on the floor today and understand what they have available, which are all here with a dev preview, and then talk to the many other partners that we have that are also looking at operators. So again, Rob, thank you for joining us today. Matt, come on out.
OK. This is going to make for an exciting year of just what it means to consume container-based content. I think containers changed how customers can get that. I believe operators are going to change how much they can trust running that content. But let's circle back to one more partner. This next partner we have has changed the landscape of computing, specifically with their work on hardware design, their work on core Linux itself. In fact, I think they've become so ubiquitous with computing that we often overlook the technological marvels that they've been able to overcome. Now, for myself, I studied computer engineering, and so in the late 90s, I had the chance to study processor design. I actually got to build one of my own processors. Now, in my case, it was the most trivial processor that you could imagine. It was an 8-bit subtractor, which means it can subtract 2 numbers 256 or smaller. But in that process, I learned the sheer complexity that goes into processor design. Things like wire placements that are so close that electrons can cut through the insulation and short them. And then doing those wire placements across 3 dimensions through multiple layers, jamming in as many logic components as you possibly can. And again, in my case, this was to make a processor that could subtract 2 numbers. But once I was done with this, the second part of the course was studying the Pentium processor. And I'll remember that moment forever, because looking at what the Pentium processor was able to accomplish, it was like looking at alien technology. And the incredible thing is that Intel, our next partner, has been able to keep up that alien-like pace of innovation 20 years later. So we're excited to have Doug Fisher here. Let's hear a little bit more from Intel.
Open for business, wide open skies, an open mind. No matter the context, the idea of being open almost always suggests the potential of infinite possibilities, and that's exactly the power of open source. Whether it's expanding what's possible in business, science and technology, or for the greater good. Which is why open source requires the involvement of a truly diverse community of contributors to scale and succeed, creating infinite possibilities for technology, and more importantly, what we do with it.
You know, at Intel, one of our core values is risk-taking. And I'm going to go just a bit off script for a second and say I was just backstage, and I saw a gentleman that looked a lot like Scott Guthrie, who runs all of Microsoft's cloud enterprise efforts, wearing a red shirt, talking to Cormier. I'm just saying, I don't know, maybe I need some more sleep, but that's what I saw. As we approach Intel's 50th anniversary, these words spoken by our co-founder, Robert Noyce, are as relevant today as they were decades ago. Don't be encumbered by history. This is about breaking boundaries in technology. And then go off and do something wonderful is about innovation and driving innovation in our industry. At Intel, we're constantly looking to break boundaries, to advance our technology. In the cloud and enterprise space, that is no different. So I'm going to talk a bit about some of the boundaries we've been breaking and innovations we've been driving at Intel. Starting with our Intel Xeon platform. Our Xeon scalable platform we launched several months ago, which was the biggest and marked the most advanced movement in this technology in over a decade. We were able to drive critical performance capabilities, unmatched agility, and added necessary and sufficient security to that platform. I couldn't be happier with the work we do with Red Hat and ensuring that those hero features that we drive into our platform, they fully expose to all of you to drive that innovation, to go off and do something wonderful. Whether it's taking advantage of the performance features or agility features, like our advanced vector extensions or AVX 512, or Intel Quick Assist, those technologies are fully embraced by Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Or whether it's security technologies like TXT or Trusted Execution Technology are fully incorporated. And we look forward to working with Red Hat on their next release to ensure that our advancements continue to be exposed in their platform. And all these workloads that are driving the need for us to break boundaries in our technology are driving more and more need for flexibility in computing. And that's why we're excited about Intel's family of FPGAs to help deliver that additional flexibility for you to build those capabilities in your environment. We have a broad set of FPGA capabilities from our power-efficient Max product line all the way to our performance product line on the Stratix 10. We have a broad set of FPGAs. What I've been talking to customers, what's really exciting is to see the combination of using our Intel Xeon Scalable platform in combination with FPGAs, in addition to the acceleration development capabilities we've given to software developers, combining all that together to deliver better and better solutions. Whether it's helping to accelerate data compression, whether it's pattern recognition, or data encryption and decryption. One of the things I saw in a data center recently was taking our Intel Xeon Scalable platform, utilizing the capabilities of FPGA to do data encryption between servers behind the firewall. All the while, using the FPGA to do that, they preserved those precious CPU cycles to ensure they delivered the SLA to their customer, yet provided more security for their data in the data center. One of the adages in cybersecurity is innovation and root of trust starts at the hardware. We recently renewed our commitment to security with our Security First Pledge. And it's really three elements to our Security First Pledge. First is customer first urgency. We have now completed the release of the microcode updates for protection on our Intel platforms 9+ years since launch to protect against things like the side channel exploits. Transparent and timely communication. We are going to communicate timely and openly on our Intel.com website, whether it's about our patches, performance, or other relevant information. And then ongoing security assurance. We drive security into every one of our products. We redesigned a portion of our processor to add this partition capability, which is adding additional walls between applications and user-level privileges to further secure that environment from bad actors. I want to pause for a second and thank everyone in this room involved in helping us work through our Security First Pledge. This isn't something we do on our own. It takes everyone in this room to help us do that. The partnership and collaboration was next to none. It's the most amazing thing I've seen since I've been in this industry. So thank you. We don't stop there. We continue to advance our security capabilities, cross-platform solutions. We recently had a conference discussion at RSA where we talked about Intel Security Essentials, where we deliver a framework of capabilities end-to-end that are in our silicon available for those to innovate, our customers and the security ecosystem to innovate on our platform in a consistent way, delivering that assurance that those capabilities will be on that platform. We also talked about things like our security threat technology. Threat detection technology is something that we believe in, and we launched that at RSA. It incorporates several elements. One is the ability to utilize our internal graphics to accelerate some of the memory scanning capabilities. We call this accelerated memory scanning. It allows you to use the integrated graphics to scan memory, again, preserving those precious cycles on the core processor. Microsoft adopted this and are now incorporated it into their Defender product and are shipping it today. We also launched our Threat SDK, which allows partners like Cisco to utilize telemetry information to further secure their environments for cloud workloads. So we'll continue to drive differential experiences into our platform for our ecosystem to innovate and deliver more and more capabilities. One of the key aspects you have to protect is data. By 2020, the projection is 44 zettabytes of data will be available. 44 zettabytes of data. By 2025, they project that'll grow to 180 zettabytes of data. Massive amount of data. And what all you want to do is you want to drive value from that data. Driving value from that data is absolutely critical. And to do that, you need to have that data closer and closer to your computation. This is why we've been working at Intel to break the boundaries in memory technology. With our investment in 3D NAND, we're reducing costs and driving up density in that form factor to ensure we get warm data closer to the computing. We're also innovating on form factors. We have here what we call our ruler form factor. This ruler form factor is designed to drive as much density as you can in a 1U rack. We're going to continue to advance the capabilities to drive 1 petabyte of data at low power consumption into this ruler form factor, SSD form factor. So our innovation continues. The biggest breakthrough in memory technology in the last 25 years in memory media technology was done by Intel. We call this our 3D crosspoint technology. And our 3D crosspoint technology is now going to be driven into SSDs as well as in a persistent memory form factor to be on the memory bus, giving you the speed of memory, characteristics of memory, as well as the characteristics of storage, given a new tier of memory for developers to take full advantage of. And as you can see, Red Hat is fully committed to integrating this capability into their platform to take full advantage of that new capability. So I want to thank Paul and the team for engaging with us to make sure that that's available for all of you to innovate on. And so we're breaking boundaries in technology across a broad set of elements that we deliver. That's what we're about, and we're going to continue to do that, not be encumbered by the past. Your role is to go off and do something wonderful with that technology. All ecosystems are embracing this and driving it, including open source technology. Open source is a hub of innovation. It's been that way for many, many years. That innovation that's being driven in open source is starting to transform many, many businesses. It's driving business transformation. We're seeing this coming to light in the transformation of 5G. Driving 5G into the network environment is a transformational moment. And open source is playing a pivotal role in that with OpenStack, ONAP, and OP, NFV, and other open source projects we're contributing to and participating in are helping drive that transformation in 5G as you do software-defined networks on our barrier-breaking technology. We're also seeing this transformation rapidly occurring in the cloud and enterprise. Cloud and enterprise are growing rapidly, and innovation continues. Our work with virtualization and KVM continues to be aggressive to adopt technologies to advance and deliver more capabilities in virtualization. As we look at this with Red Hat, we're now working on KubeVirt to help move virtualized workloads onto these platforms so that we can now have them managed in an open platform environment. And KubeVirt provides that. So between Intel and Red Hat and the community, we're investing in resources to make certain that comes to product. As containers, a critical feature in Linux, becomes more and more prevalent across the industry, the growth of container elements continues at a rapid pace. One of the things that we wanted to bring to that is the ability to provide isolation without impairing the flexibility, the speed, and the footprint of a container. With our clear container efforts, along with Hyper-Run-V, we're able to combine that and create what we call Kata containers. We launched this at the end of last year. Kata containers is designed to have that container element available and adding elements like isolation. Both of these environments need to have an orchestration and management capability Red Hat's OpenShift provides that capability for these workloads, whether containerized or KubeVirt capabilities with virtual environments. Red Hat OpenShift is designed to take that commercial capability to market. And we've been working with Red Hat for several years now to develop what we call our Intel Select solution. Intel Select solutions are Intel technology optimized for downstream workloads. As we see a growth in a workload, we'll work with a partner to optimize a solution on Intel technology to deliver the best solution that can be deployed quickly. Our effort here is to accelerate the adoption of these type of workloads in the market, working with Red Hat. So now we're going to be deploying an Intel Select solution designed and optimized around Red Hat OpenShift. We expect the industry to start deploying this capability very rapidly. I'm excited to announce today that Lenovo has committed to be the first platform company to deliver this solution to market. The Intel Select solution to market will be delivered by Lenovo. Now, I talked about what we're doing in industry and how we're transforming businesses. Our technology is also utilized for greater good. There's no better example of this than the work by Dr. Stephen Hawking. It was a sad day on March 14th of this year when Dr. Stephen Hawking passed away, but not before Intel had a 20-year relationship with Dr. Hawking, driving breakthrough capabilities, innovating with him, driving those robust capabilities to the rest of the world. One of our Intel engineers, an Intel Fellow, which is the highest technical achievement you can reach at Intel, got to spend 10 years with Dr. Hawking looking at innovative things they could do together with our technology and his breakthrough innovative thinking. So I thought it'd be great to bring up our Intel Fellow, Lemma Nashman, to talk about her work with Dr. Hawking and what she learned in that experience. Come on up, Lemma. Great to see you.
Thanks, Doug.
So I've been going on about the breakthrough, breaking boundaries in Intel technology. Talk about how you use that in your work with Dr. Hawking.
Absolutely. So the most important part was to really make that technology contextually aware, because for people with disability, every single interaction takes a long time. So whether it was adapting, for example, the language model of his work predictor to understand whether he's going to talk to people or whether he's writing a book on black holes, or to even understand what specific application he might be using, and then making sure that we're surfacing only enough actions that were relevant to reduce that amount of interaction. So the tricky part is really to make all of that contextual awareness happen without totally confusing the user, because it's constantly changing underneath them.
So how is your work involving any open source?
So, the problem with assistive technology in general is that it needs to be tailored to the specific disability, which really makes it very hard and very expensive because it can't utilize the economies of scale. So basically, with the system that we built, what we wanted to do is to really enable unleashing innovation in the world, right? So you could take that framework, you could tailor it to a specific sensor, for example, a brain-computer interface or something like that, where you could actually then support a different set of users. So that makes open source a perfect fit, because you could actually build and tailor.
And when you spoke with Dr. Hawking, what was his view of open source? Is it relevant to him?
So yeah, so Stephen was adamant from the beginning that he wanted a system to benefit the world and not just himself. So he spent a lot of time with us to actually build this system. And he was adamant from day one that he would only engage with us if we were commit to actually open sourcing the technology.
That's fantastic. And you had the privilege of working with him for 10 years. I know you have some amazing stories to share. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
In order for us to scale, and that's what we're about at Intel, is really scaling our capabilities. It takes this community. It takes this community of diverse capabilities. It takes diverse thought. Diverse thought of Dr. Hawking couldn't be more relevant. But we also are proud at Intel about leading efforts of diverse thought like women in Linux, women in big data, other areas like that where Intel feels that that diversity of thinking and engagement is critical for our success. So as we look at Intel, not to be encumbered by the past, but break boundaries, to deliver the technology that you all will go off and do something wonderful with, we're going to remain committed to that, and I look forward to continue working with you. Thank you, and have a great conference.
Doug, thanks a lot. Now we have one more customer story for you today. When you think about customers' challenges in the technology landscape, it is hard to ignore the public cloud these days. Public cloud is introducing capabilities that are driving the fastest rate of innovation that we've ever seen in our industry. And our next customer, they actually had that same challenge. They wanted to tap into that innovation, but they were also making bets for the long term. They wanted flexibility in providers, and they had to integrate to the systems that they already have. And they have done a phenomenal job in executing to this, so please give a warm welcome to Carrie Pierce from Cathay Pacific. Carrie, come on up.
Thanks very much, Matt. Hi, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit about our cloud journey. Let me start by telling you a little bit about Cathay Pacific. We're an international airline based in Hong Kong, and we serve a passenger and a cargo network to over 200 destinations in 52 countries and territories. In the last 70 years, and yes, 70 years, we've made substantial investments to develop Hong Kong as one of the world's leading transportation hubs. We invest in what matters most to our customers, to you, focusing on our exemplary service and our great product, and that's both on the ground and in the air. We're also investing in expanding our network beyond our multiple frequencies to the financial districts such as Tokyo, New York, and London, and we're connecting Asia and Hong Kong with key tech hubs like San Francisco, where we have multiple flights daily. We're also connecting Asia and Hong Kong to places like Tel Aviv and our upcoming destination of Dublin. In fact, 2018 is actually going to be one of our biggest years in terms of network expansion and capacity growth. And we will be launching in September our longest flight from Hong Kong direct to Washington, DC. And that'll be using a state-of-the-art Airbus A350-1000 aircraft. So that's a little bit about Cathay Pacific. Let me tell you about our journey through the cloud. I'm not going to go into technical details. There's far smarter people out in the audience who will be able to do that for you. I just focused a little bit about what we were trying to achieve and the people side of it that helped us get there. We had, a couple of years ago, no doubt the same issues that many of you do. I don't think we're unique. We had a traditional, on-premise, non-standardized, fragile infrastructure. It didn't meet our infrastructure needs and it didn't meet our development needs. It was costly to maintain, it was costly to grow, and it really inhibited innovation. Most importantly, it slowed the delivery of value to our customers. At the same time, you had the hype of cloud over the last few years. Cloud this, cloud that, cloud's going to fix the world. We were really keen on making sure we didn't get wound up in that. So we focused on what we needed. We started bottom up with a strategy. We knew we wanted to be cloud agnostic. We wanted to have active on-premise data centers with a single network and fabric. And we wanted public clouds that were trusted and acted as an extension of that environment, not independently. We wanted to avoid single points of failure, and we wanted to reduce interdependencies by having loosely coupled designs. And finally, we wanted to be scalable. We wanted to be able to cater for sudden surges of demand. In a nutshell, we kind of just wanted to make everything easier. At a management level, we wanted to be a broker of services. So not one size fits all, because that doesn't work, but also not one of everything. We wanted standardized but a pragmatic range of services that met our development and support needs and worked in harmony with our public cloud, not against it. So we started on a journey with Red Hat. We implemented Red Hat Cloud Forms and Ansible to manage our hybrid cloud. We also implemented Red Hat Satellite to maintain and manage our environment. We built a Red Hat OpenStack on-premise environment to give us an alternative. And at the same time, we migrated a number of customer applications to a production public cloud OpenShift environment. But it wasn't all Red Hat. You'll have heard today that Red Hat fits within an overall ecosystem. We looked at a number of third-party tools and services and looked at developing those into our core solution. I think at last count, we had tried and tested somewhere past 80 different tools, and at the moment, we still have around 62 in our environment that help us through that journey. But let me put the technical solution aside a little bit, because it doesn't matter how good your technical solution is if you don't have the culture and the people to get it right. As a group, we needed to be aligned for delivery, and we focused on 3 core behaviors. We focused on accountability, agility, and collaboration. Now, I was really lucky. We've got a pretty fantastic team for whom that was actually pretty easy, but again, don't underestimate the importance of getting the culture and the people right, because all the technology in the world doesn't matter if you don't have that right. I asked the team, what did we do differently? Because in our situation, we didn't go out and hire a bunch of new people. We didn't go out and hire a bunch of consultants. We had the staff that had been with us for 10, 20, and in some cases, 30 years. So what did we do differently? It was really simple. We just empowered and supported our staff. We knew they were the smart ones. They were the ones that were dealing with a legacy environment, and they had the passion to make the change. So as a team, we encouraged suggestions and contributions from our overall IT community, from the bottom up. We started small, we proved the case, we told the story, and then we got buy-in. And only then did we implement wider. The benefits for our staff were a huge increase in staff satisfaction, reduction in application and platform outage support incidents, risk-free and fail-safe application releases, work-life balance, no more midnight deployments, and our application and infrastructure people could really focus on delivering customer value, not on firefighting. And for our end customers, the people that travel with us, it was actually really simple. We could provide a stable service that allowed for faster releases, which meant we could deliver value faster. In terms of the stats, we migrated 60 production B2C applications to a public cloud OpenShift environment in 12 months. We decreased provisioning time from weeks or occasionally months if we were waiting for hardware to minutes. And we had 100% availability of our key customer-facing systems. But most importantly, it was about people. We built a culture of innovation that was built on a foundation of collaboration, agility, and accountability. And that permeated throughout the IT organization, not just those people that were involved in the project. Everyone within IT could see what good looked like and to see what it looked like in terms of working together. And that was a key foundation for us. The future for us, you will have heard today, everything's changing. So we're going to continue to develop our open hybrid cloud, onboard more public cloud service providers, continue to build more modern applications and leverage the emerging technology, integrate and automate everything we possibly can, and leverage more open source products with the great support from the open source community. So there you have it. That's our journey. I think we succeeded by not being overawed and by starting with the basics. The technology was key. Obviously, it's a core component, but most importantly, it was the way we approached our transition. We had a clear strategy that was actually developed bottom up by the people that were involved day to day, and we empowered those people to deliver. And that provided benefits to both our staff and to our customers. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the summit.
I got one. Thanks, Gary. What a great story, what a great customer story to close on. And we have one more partner to come up. And this is a partner that all of you know, that's Microsoft. Microsoft has gone through an amazing transformation. We've built an incredibly meaningful partnership with them, all the way from our open source collaboration to what we do on the business side. We started with support for Red Hat Enterprise Linux on Hyper-V, and that was truly just the beginning. Today, we're announcing one of the most exciting joint product offerings on the market today. Let's please give a warm welcome to Paul Cormier and Scott Guthrie to tell us about it. Guys, come on up.
Afternoon. Scott, welcome to the Red Hat Summit. Thanks for coming. Really appreciate it.
It's great to be here.
You know, I think, surprised a lot of people when we, published a list of speakers and you were on it, and you and I are on stage here. It's really, really important and exciting to us. Exciting new partnership. We've worked together a long time, from the hypervisor up to common support, and now around hybrid cloud. Maybe from your perspective, a little bit of what led us here.
Well, I think the thing that's really led us here is customers. And in Microsoft, we've been on kind of a transformation journey the last several years, where we've really tried to put customers at the center of everything that we do. And as part of that, you quickly learn from customers in terms of, including everyone here, is you've got a hybrid estate, both in terms of what you run on premises, where it has a lot of Red Hat software, a lot of Microsoft software, and then really as you take the journey to the cloud, looking at a hybrid estate in terms of how do you run that now between on-premises and a public cloud provider. And I think the thing that both of us have recognized, and certainly our focus here at Microsoft has been, how do we really meet customers with where they're at and where they want to go and make them successful in that journey. And it's been fantastic working with Paul and the Red Hat team over the last 2 years in particular. We spent a lot of time together, and really excited about the journey ahead.
So maybe you can share a bit more about the announcement we're about to make today.
Yeah, so it's a really exciting announcement. It's and really kind of, I think, first of its kind, in that we're delivering a Red Hat OpenShift on Azure service that we're jointly developing and jointly managing together. And so this is different than sort of a traditional offering where it's just running inside VMs and it's sort of two vendors working. This is really a jointly managed service that we're providing with full enterprise support, with a full SLA, with a single throat to choke, if you will, although it's collectively both our throats, in terms of making sure that it works well. And it's really uniquely designed around this hybrid world, and in that it will support both Windows and Linux containers, and it will, it's the same OpenShift that runs both in the public cloud on Azure and on premises. And I think it's something that we hear a lot from customers. I know there's a lot of people here that have asked both of us for this, and super excited to be able to talk about it today, and we're going to show off the first demo of it in just a bit.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you to elaborate a bit more about this, how this fits into the bigger Microsoft picture, and I'll get out of your way. And so thanks again. Thanks for
so
coming.
Much. It's
Here
great
you
to
go.
hear. Thanks, Paul. So I thought I'd spend just a few minutes talking about some of the work that we're doing with Microsoft Azure and the overall Microsoft Cloud, and then go deeper in terms of the new offering that we're announcing today together with Red Hat, and show a demo of it actually in action in a few minutes. At a high level, in terms of some of the work that we've been doing at Microsoft the last couple of years, has really been around this journey to the cloud that we see every organization going on today. And specifically with Microsoft Azure, we've been providing really a cloud platform that delivers the infrastructure, the application, and kind of the core computing needs that organizations have as they want to be able to take advantage of what the cloud has to offer. And in terms of our focus with Azure, we've really focused, we deliver lots and lots of different services and features, but we focused really in particular on kind of 4 key themes. And we see these 4 key themes aligning very well with the journey Red Hat's been on, and it's partly why we think the partnership between the two companies makes so much sense. And for us, the thing that we've been really focused on has been with Azure in terms of how do we deliver a really productive cloud, meaning how do we enable you to take advantage of cutting edge technology, and how do we kind of accelerate the successful adoption of it, whether it's around the integration of managed services that we provide, both in terms of the application space, and the data space, the analytic and AI space, but also in terms of just the end-to-end management and development tools and how all those services work together so that teams can basically adopt them and be super successful. We deeply believe in hybrid and believe that the world is going to be a multi-cloud and a multi-distributed world. And how do we enable organizations to be able to take the existing investments that they already have and be able to easily integrate them in a public cloud and with a public cloud environment and get immediate ROI on day one without having to rip and replace tons of solutions. We're moving very aggressively in the AI space and are looking to provide a rich set of AI services, both finished AI models, things like speech detection, vision detection, object motion, et cetera, that any developer, even a non-data scientist, can integrate to make applications smarter. And then we provide a rich set of AI tooling that enables organizations to build custom models and be able to integrate them also as part of their applications and with their data. And then we invest very, very heavily on trust. Trust is sort of at the core of Azure, and we now have more compliance certifications than any other cloud provider. We run in more countries than any other cloud provider. And we really focus around unique promises around data residency, data sovereignty, and privacy that are really differentiated across the industry. And in terms of where Azure runs today, we're in 50 regions around the world. So a region for us is typically a cluster of multiple data centers that are grouped together. And you can see we're pretty much on every continent with the exception of Antarctica today. And the beauty is you're going to be able to take the Red Hat OpenShift service and run it on Azure in each of these different locations and really have a truly global footprint as you look to build and deploy solutions. And we've seen kind of this focus on productivity, hybrid, intelligence, and trust really resonate in the market. And about 90% of Fortune 500 companies today are deployed on Azure. And you heard Nike talk a little bit earlier this afternoon about some of their journeys as they've moved to adopt public cloud. This is a small logo of just a couple of the companies that are on Azure today. And what I thought I'd do is actually, even before we dive into the OpenShift demo, is actually just show a quick video of one of the companies. I think there are actually several people from that organization here today, Deutsche Bank, who have been working with both Microsoft and Red Hat for many years. Microsoft on the Azure side, Red Hat both on the RHEL side and then on the OpenShift side. And this is just one of these customers that have helped bring the two companies together to deliver this managed OpenShift service on Azure. And so I'm just going to play a quick video of some of the folks at Deutsche Bank talking about their experiences and what they're trying to get out of it. So if we could roll the video, that'd be great.
Technology is at the absolute heart of Deutsche Bank. We recognized that the cost of running our infrastructure was particularly high. There was an enormous amount of underutilization.
We needed a platform which was open to polyglot architecture, supporting any kind of application workload across the various business lines of the firm.
We analyzed over 60 different vendor products, and we ended up with Red Hat OpenShift. I'm super excited that Microsoft are supporting Linux so strongly. So we adopted a hybrid approach.
We chose Azure because Microsoft was the ideal partner to work with on constructs around security, compliance, business continuity. And Azure is in all the places geographically that we need to be. We have applications now able to go from a proof of concept to production in 3 weeks. That is already breaking records. OpenShift gives us Kubernetes and containers that allows us to apply the same sets of processes, automation across a wide range of our application landscape. On any given day, we run between 7,000 and 12,000 containers across 3 regions.
We're starting to see huge levels of cost reduction because of the level of multi-tenancy that we can achieve through containers.
OpenShift gives us an abstraction layer, which allows us to move our applications between providers without having to reconfigure or recode those applications. What's really exciting for me about this journey is the way that both Red Hat and Microsoft have embraced not just what we're doing, but what each other are doing, and have worked together to build OpenShift as a first-class citizen with Microsoft.
In terms of what we're announcing today, is a new fully managed OpenShift service on Azure. And it's really the first fully managed service provided end-to-end across any of the cloud providers. And it's jointly engineered, operated, and supported by both Microsoft and Red Hat. And that means, again, sort of one service, one SLA, and both companies standing firmly behind it. Really, again, focusing around how do we make customers successful. And as part of that, really providing the enterprise-grade, not just SLAs, but also support and integration testing so that you can also take advantage of all your RHEL and Linux-based containers and all of your Windows Server-based containers. And how can you run them in a joint way with a common management stack, taking the advantage of one service and get maximum density, get maximum code reuse, and be able to take advantage of a containerized world in a better way than ever before. And again, this customer focus is very much at the center of what both companies are really centered around. And so what I thought it'd be fun is, rather than just talk about OpenShift, is actually kind of show off a little bit of a journey in terms of what this move to take advantage of it looks like. And so I'd like to invite Brendan and Chris on stage, who are actually going to show off a live demo of OpenShift on Azure in action, and really walk through how to provision the service and basically how to start taking advantage of it using the full OpenShift ecosystem. So please welcome Brendan and Chris, who are going to join us on stage for a demo.
Hey, Scott. Thanks. Man, it's been a good afternoon. So, what we want to get into right now, first I'd like to thank Brandon Burns for joining us from Microsoft Build. It's a busy week for you. I'm sure you're on stage there a few times as well. What I like most about what we just announced is not only the business and technical aspects, but it's that operational aspect, the uniqueness, the expertise that Red Hat has for running OpenShift combined with the expertise that Microsoft has within Azure. And customers are going to get this joint offering, if you will, with Red Hat OpenShift on Microsoft Azure. And so, kind of with that again, Brandon, I really appreciate you being here. Maybe talk to the folks about what we're going to show.
Yeah, so we're going to take a look at what it looks like to deploy OpenShift onto Azure via the new OpenShift service. And the real selling point, the really great part of this is the deep integration with a cloud-native API. So the same tooling that you would use to create virtual machines, to create disks, to create databases, is now the tooling that you're going to use to create an OpenShift cluster. So to show you this, first we're going to create a resource group here. So we're going to create that resource group in East US using the AZ tool. That's the Azure command line tooling. Resource group is sort of a folder on Azure that holds all of your stuff. So that's going to come back in just a second. I've created my resource group in East US. And now we're going to use that exact same tool calling into Azure APIs to provision an OpenShift cluster. So here we go. We have AZ OpenShift. That's our new command line tool. Putting it into that resource group, putting it into East US. All right, so it's going to take a little bit of time to deploy that OpenShift cluster. It's doing a bunch of work behind the scenes, provisioning all kinds of resources, as well as credentials to access a bunch of different Azure APIs.
So are we actually able to see this?
Yeah, so we can cut over to, in just a second, we can cut over to that resource group. Okay. We're going to reload.
So Brendan, while we're waiting for that, the beauty of what the teams have been doing together already is the fact that now OpenShift is a first-class citizen, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely.
Within the Azure. So I presume not only can I do a deployment, but I can do things like scale and check my credentials and pretty much everything that I could do with any other service with Azure.
That's exactly right. So we can, anything that you were used to doing via the, and my computer has locked up. Oh, there we go. The demo gods are totally with me. Oh, there we go. Oh no, I hit reload. Oh, that was just evil timing on behalf.
So this is another use for operators, as we talked about earlier today.
That's right. My dashboard should be coming up. Do I dare click on something?
That's awesome.
That was totally, it was there.
There we go.
All right, yeah.
Good job, good job.
Oh,
So, what's
Sorry, show you
really
that.
interesting about this, I've also heard that it deploys, in as little as 5 to 6 minutes, which is really good for customers that want to get up and running with it. But
all right. There we go.
Yay, there it is again.
We managed to make it. See, that shows that it's real, right? You can see the sweat coming off of me there. But there you can see the...
I feel it.
You can see the various resources that are being created in order to create this OpenShift cluster, virtual machines, disks, all of the pieces provisioned for you automatically via that one single command line call. Now, of course, it takes a few minutes to create the cluster. So in order to show the other side of that integration, the integration between OpenShift and Azure, I'm going to cut over to an OpenShift cluster that I already have created. All right. So here you can see my OpenShift cluster that's running on Microsoft Azure. I'm going to actually log in over here. And the first sign you're going to see of the integration is it's actually using my credentials, my login, and going through Active Directory and any corporate policies that I may have around smart cards, two-factor auth, anything like that to authenticate myself to that OpenShift cluster. So I'll accept that it can access my... and now we're going to load up the OpenShift Web Console.
So now this looks familiar to me.
Yeah, so if anybody's used OpenShift out there, this is the exact same console. And what we're going to show, though, is how this console via the Open Service Broker and the Open Service Broker implementation for Azure integrates natively with OpenShift. All right. So we can go down here, and we can actually see I want to deploy a database. I'm going to deploy Mongo as my key value store that I'm going to use. But as we talk about management and having an OpenShift cluster that's managed for you, I don't really want to have to manage my database either. So I'm actually going to use Cosmos DB. It's a native Azure service. It's a multilingual database that offers me the ability to access my data in a variety of different formats, including MongoDB. Fully managed, replicated around the world, a pretty incredible service. So I'm going to go ahead and create that.
So now, Brendan, what's interesting, I think, to me is, we talked about the operational aspects, and clearly it's not you and I running the clusters, but you do need that way to interface with it, and so when customers are able to deploy this, all of this is out of the box. There's no additional configuration.
Absolutely. Like, this is what you get when you use that tool to create that OpenShift cluster. This is what you get with all of that integration.
Okay,
so
great.
we can step through here and go ahead. Scroll down. Don't have any IP ranges, so I can. There we go. All right, and we create that binding. All right, and so now behind the scenes, OpenShift is integrated with the Azure APIs with all of my credentials to go ahead and create that distributed database. Once it's done provisioning, actually, all of the credentials necessary to access the database are going to be automatically populated into Kubernetes, available for me inside of OpenShift via service discovery to access from my application without any further work. So I think that really shows not only the power of integrating OpenShift with an Azure-based API, but actually the power of integrating Azure's APIs inside of OpenShift to make a truly seamless experience for managing and deploying your containers across a variety of different platforms.
Yeah, hey, Brendan, this is great. I know you've got a flight to catch because I think you're back on stage in a few hours, but really appreciate you joining us today.
Absolutely.
I look forward to seeing what else we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, guys. Matt, you want to come back on up?
Thanks a lot, guys. If you have never had the opportunity to do a live demo in front of 8,000 people, it'll give you a new appreciation for standing up there and doing it. That was really good. Every time I get the chance just to take a step back and think about the technology that we have at our command today, I'm in awe. Just the progress over the last 10 or 20 years is incredible, and to think about what might come in the next 10 or 20 years really is unthinkable. Even forget 10 years. What might come in the next 5 years, even the next 2 years. But this can create a lot of uncertainty in the environment of what's going to be to come, but I am certain about one thing, and that is if ever there was a time when any idea was achievable, it is now. Just think about what you've seen today. Every aspect of open hybrid cloud, you have the world's infrastructure at your fingertips. And it's not stopping. You've heard about this, the innovation of open source, how fast that's evolving and improving this capability. You've heard this afternoon from an entire technology ecosystem that's ready to help you on this journey, and you've heard from customer after customer that's already started their journey and the successes that they've had. One of the neat parts about this afternoon, or later this week, you will actually get to put your hands on all of this technology together in our live audience demo. You know, this is what Summit's all about for us. It's a chance to bring together the technology experts that you can work with to help formulate how to pull off those ideas. We have the chance to bring together the technology experts, our customers, and our partners, and really create an environment where everyone can experience the power of open source. That same spark that I talked about when I was at IBM, where I understood the potential that open source had for enterprise customers, we want to create the environment where you can have your own spark. You can have that same inspiration. Let's make this, in tomorrow's keynote, actually, you will hear a story about how open source is changing medicine as we know it and literally saving lives. It is a great example of expanding the ideas that might be possible that we came into this event with. So let's make this the best summit ever. Thank you very much for being here. Let's kick things off right. Head down to the welcome reception in the expo hall, and please enjoy the summit. Thank you all so much.